Hello everyone, I'm Dante here from Low Manor, and we just had another Anthem livestream, primarily focused on our first live viewing of the main hub, Fort Tarsis. And initially, they had intended on covering one of the very first missions in the game, Lost Arcanist, along with a sneak peek at a loadout in the Forge. Unfortunately, this portion had to be cancelled for the time being, and was replaced by a brief Q&A. At least they're coming back with another stream once they've ironed out some of their issues. With what is quickly becoming a near weekly trend, we have another livestream from Anthem, this time headed by Mike Gamble and guest Sabina. Much like the previous stream focused on customization, which you should really check out if you haven't already, we got our first real look into the major hub location, Fort Tarsis. They stressed that this is the current alpha testing build, with a much more limited view of Tarsis itself, with an entire half hidden behind a nice golden door, along with there being less options and interactions in general. We started with what appears to be either the very first or one of our very first times in-game, within a location called the Enclave. This is the headquarters of the freelancers. As you can see, it's very bare, but still included notable NPCs, such as Owen, our personal cipher, and Yarrow, one of the oldest and most senior freelancers. Mike and Sabina made sure to point out the area behind him, which as of now is empty, though they hinted this will not be the case forever, as it acts as one of the many signs of just how low the freelancers have fallen. This sentiment carries over to Fort Tarsis, itself suffering a downturn, leaving it feeling empty, lacking in trade, with a stronger security presence in the form of the Sentinels. This all ties heavily into the story and how we'll be impacting Fort Tarsis, taking it from this rundown fort to a booming and thriving bastion of civilization. Though they are unable to give specifics, we did learn that it will change over time. As we develop through the story, more people will return to Fort Tarsis, the market will grow, and more vendors will open and expand. With that, we start our walk through Fort Tarsis itself, stopping briefly to one of the many statues dotted around the place. Some we've seen in promotional materials before now. The one we visit this time is dedicated to the Order of Ciphers, those with the telepathic powers that act as guides and communicate to Javelin pilots out in the field. At this time, all we know is that at one point at least, they were held in high regard. Along with the statue, we have one of the many codex items, which we've previously seen with runes in a cave on the Colossus gameplay several months ago. This time we are getting some mysterious books, assumably related to what they happen to be sitting next to. If you're not too sure what a codex is, well, essentially these are lore items. You can collect these around the world to fill out the lore of locations, organizations, and people, which you'll be able to go back to and read in game, much like Bioware has done in the past with their single-player RPGs such as Mass Effect. Now into the full market. We've already covered most of the downtrodden issues and about the vendors, but there are still a few persons of note. Firstly, Prospero, who will become a named vendor later on once you've completed a few missions. They didn't say what he sells, but by the look of his stalls, I think Javelin parts might be a safe bet. The next is Zoe, one of the mechanics working by the Forge. You will actually be able to interact with her. To demonstrate, they showed a short video as an example. This is one of the few times we've seen the new two-way decision tree in practice. And if it applies to even standard NPCs, we should be getting a lot of minor decisions to make along the way, whether those be friends or even rivals. The last vendor isn't technically a person, but a location within the market, a space known as the Vault. This appears to be linked more closely to the crafting system, that we've had almost no information on. We do know that from the Vault you can view your inventory, break down items into crafting parts, and view some other unknown details. The final area of note are the two Strider bays on either side of the market. We've seen them every time we've seen Fort Tarsis, but they made a point to show them out. On the left we have one being used as a storage area, on the other a Strider sitting in its bay. Perhaps this one belongs to us. For some reason I get the feeling we'll be able to visit these regions eventually. At the Forge, although we didn't get to start the mission due to many technical issues, we did get the opening cutscene with Tassin, a prominent member within the Corvus faction. She has a lot of power and contacts, making her an extremely valuable ally. From the way she speaks, the freelancers as a whole don't get offered many jobs, especially from her. With the way things are going, it's almost like you're the only freelancers actually in operation. Nothing really concrete, but just thinking of all the possibilities for us as freelancers and the stories to be told, has me hyped for getting to try this game myself. Although, let's be honest, the greatest part of this cutscene is Owen and his overexcited and slightly sassy walkaway. Now, as I mentioned at the start, in place of some of the new high difficulty gameplay, we had an impromptu Q&A. From this we didn't really learn too much, but I will run through a couple of the questions we did see, although I will paraphrase some of them in the interests of time. So will Fort Tarsis evolve over time due to our actions? Yes, it will. As you progress through the story, more vendors and potentially allies will rejoin Fort Tarsis. Sabina even heavily implied that they have long-lasting plans for events and missions that will change Fort Tarsis. Although they aren't going to be teasing how, at least for now. How will we receive lore from the game? In collectible items that we can view or something else? There will be multiple sources of storytelling and lore, with the items such as codexes that can be revisited, discussions or chatter from NPCs, alongside missions that drive the core of the story. This includes missions and places you can explore amongst the world. Will Shaper Storms or other events physically change Fort Tarsis? It will be changing in many ways, but they're not currently ready to discuss any plans. Can your decisions within Fort Tarsis and the single player interactions affect the co-op gameplay? No, they are separated, allowing the freedom to make your own choices. The missions will play out in the same way, though your perspective may be different from person to person. This is one of the more interesting points, as it seems that the separation goes pretty deep, and that the story might have multiple forks that actually make a difference, even if only you get to experience it. My only worry here is that it may make your interaction with the outside feel a little disconnected, much like no one in Skyrim caring about most of your major accomplishments. On the plus side, the vast majority of interactions will be in your confined solo experience. Do we have a chance of aligning with certain factions with the choices we make? Doing missions and tasks for factions opens more options as you gain favour with them, from how they treat you to more tangible benefits in the form of access to gear and cosmetics. And finally, can you look at recent mission results within Fort Tarsis? No, you can't, but you will be able to view tasks and other information at the end of every mission, which includes rewards you might have earned within it. Mike even went out to say more information will be tracked in the background for certain tasks, which sounds a lot like either achievements or additional tasks that provide additional bonuses. Both great features to have to help players set targets for themselves. All in all, this was another solid stream. Technical issues aside, I truly hope they aren't discouraged from putting more of these on. Though chat might get a bit toxic during these times, the vast majority of us eagerly awaiting more information on Anthem appreciate them. So keep up the good work. One incredibly important detail I left to the end isn't technically stream related, but sign-ups for closed technical alpha are now live. I've left a link in the description below, but by the sounds of it, if you didn't sign up right away, all the slots are gone. But please give it a try. You never know, you might get lucky. The closed alpha will be taking place at the times on screen over 2 days, so good luck to all. On a side note before I go, if anyone stumbles across Ben Irving, please inform the authorities. He's a notorious koala thief and should be brought to justice. I should clarify this is a joke from the stream. Instead, send Ben and Mike your best koala memes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, then as always, please leave a like or a dislike if you prefer. You can subscribe to support the channel and use the bell to be notified of new content as it goes live. Until next time, I've been Dante, thanks for watching.